Welcome back again, everybody. We are going now to the next part of our program. Just to mention what's coming next. Now we have the pitching part of the program, so it's very interesting. We have great companies with us that they will pitch and present. After that, we will have an introduction to investment opportunities that will be presented by Juan Carlos Muñoz. Most of you know Juan Carlos. He is I will present Juan Carlos later on, but he will be with us. And we have the roundtable after, so you can choose where you want to be on a more focused discussion. That's the rest of the program. We will start now with the pitching part of the session today. So, our first company, with no more delay, I will present Lujev. Chris Blanchard from Lujev Biotechnologies. She's bringing a cultured meat to people addressing food shortage and animal care. After working with Ganesha Lab for 1 year, he has been selected to join Big Ideas Ventures in France with an initial funding of $200,000. So, Chris, welcome.
Thanks. Can you hear me well?
Perfectly, yeah.
So are you seeing the presentation or not?
Yes.
Okay,
so
that's
stage
perfect.
Is yours.
Okay, so I'm gonna start. Okay, so hello to everybody. My name is Chris Blanchard, scientist and CEO of Lujev Biotechnologies, a mission-driven food tech startup developing the technology to truly disrupt the meat industry by bringing or putting into the market affordable, high-quality, and very sophisticated, eco-friendly and animal-free products that can really compete with traditional meat. So it's well known that meat similarity drives the commercial potential in both alternative classic vegan, vegetarian, and meat replacement are less likely to grow beyond the current trend as they lack of the sensory profile to convince average consumers. So in contrast to this, or high-tech, novel vegan, the so-called Generation Zero, and as well culture meat, which is real animal meat but without the animal, the so-called Generation One. Both they have the real potential of disrupt this $1 billion meat industry. According to the expert, novel vegan will be or is relevant towards culture meat, or in the transition towards culture meat, whereas culture meat will be relevant in the long term. Okay, so the projections show that within the next 10 years, around 1/3 of the total meat supply will be provided by these two technologies, novel vegan and culture meat products, and culture meat will out in the long term to novel vegan. So it's clear that meat industry disruption provides vast opportunities. So what do we offer in Lujev? In Lujev, we offer healthier, safer, ethical, sustainable, and affordable animal-free and eco-friendly products with premium quality that can replicate and even improve the complexity of traditional meat sensory profile. Currently, we are improving the plant-based meat alternative, the so-called Generation Zero, and also producing real culture minced meat, the Generation One. And our most ambitious goal in the midterm is to produce a real thick and juicy premium culture steak, what we call the Generation 2 of culture meat products. So what we are seeking 700K for pre-seed. We already raised around 200K, and our current valuation is $4 million. This is our key partners, and we are Lujev Biotechnologies, spirit-infused technology. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. Very interesting. Apologies for my pronunciation. Then you said it correctly, and I realized that I pronounced it really bad, your name and the name of the company. So thanks to Lujev. Marcus, Gwen, Pablo, who would like to comment on Lujev and Chris' presentation? Can be the three of you.
I'll jump in first because IndieBio definitely has a lot of future food companies. NotCo is our first unicorn, but we have a bunch of others as well. I would say that it's a really good space because there's a lot of interest, both from consumers and from investors. The only thing I would say is find some way to differentiate yourself, whether it's on the cost side or your first product, because that will really help you land your first revenue.
Okay, thanks.
And
yes,
from my perspective, in that same direction, I think really intensifying your international reach out to potential customers and partners to really find that point of differentiation, I think will be absolutely critical in that next phase when you go into France and getting exposure to more international companies.
Thank you, Marcos. Pablo, something else?
No, I would say that basically to try to connect the fact that you got your first investor and how would you take advantage out of that. I think that basically getting a first investment from a fund out of Chile, it's a great milestone. And how are you going to take advantage out of that beside of the money?
Great, thank you very much. So now we move to our next company and presenter is MedX. Javier Ursua from MedX will present. MedX prevents the osteoarthritis as the first global cause of permanent disability. MedX is preparing its international market validation through a clinical trial led by UC Davis School of Medicine and supported by the Ganesha Lab partner UC Davis Venture Catalyst. Javier, please go ahead. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Can you see my presentation and hear me correctly?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, so thank you for having me. My name is Javier Ursua. I am CEO and founder of MedX. So let me start by recognizing the tremendous impact that medical imaging has had on diagnostics. Nevertheless, critical information for treatment decision-making is still being neglected in multiple clinical areas throughout health centers worldwide. So, to illustrate, image-based diagnostics can yield errors up to 30%, meaning that only in the orthopedic space per year in the States, more than 8 million patients didn't access appropriate care or didn't get treated at all. At the same time, because of medical imaging two-dimensional nature, physicians are unable to access relevant data about patients outside the operation room, frequently reporting surprises during the surgical procedure. And lastly, standard medical imaging records offer little to no value for patients. We all know how difficult they can be to understand. To solve this, we are creating the world's first visual biomarker system integrated into three-dimensional medical images that rescue and display with unprecedented levels of detail anatomical data of human tissue to reduce diagnostic error and drive precise care. We use a combination of deep learning, advanced tissue modeling, and image augmentation techniques to instantly extract from MRI pixel information invisible for the trained eye of a radiologist. We started by body joints because joint pathologies are the world's leading cause of permanent physical disability, with $140 billion in expenses because of this condition. But joints are just one of the applications we can develop in our path to reinvent diagnostics. There's a highly attractive pipeline of applications within reach of our technology and expertise. Of course, there are companies playing in the image-based diagnostics space, but they're all mainly focused on analyzing two-dimensional images and diagnosing on the radiologist's behalf. We specialize in improving pathology preservation for improved and faster decision-making. This is possible because of the work of our team, Chief of Medicine, Chief of Data Science, Chief of Biomedical Engineering, and the CEO, with advisory in the radiology space, diagnostic and medical device, orthopedics, and international management. So we're looking to rise at 2 million to provide 24-month runway. The funds will allow us to advance our MVP to a commercial level system, enable us to launch our platform in the major Latin American markets, finish our QMS process to list in the FDA before 2022, and to hit the American market, before the end of 2023. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Javier. Great presentation. I can definitely imagine a lot of applications for this, but I will leave the floor to the experts. So, Pablo, Marcus, when?
I'll start again.
Okay.
So I love this space. I took all 16 courses of deeplearning.ai. This is Andrew Ng's coursework from Stanford. So I love coding in Python. So kudos for building this. I think 2 points to think about is that when you're dealing with AI, you're competing with global competitors, right? And so, I definitely know of companies in India that are trying to do the same thing. So the more you can talk about, and I don't even know what Google is doing, right? They just have gobs of money. And so the more you can get that information, the better you sound. I always tell founders that when you pitch, you should always know more than the VCs, right? And so, the more competitive analysis you can make, the more you can convince them how you're different and how you can win the market, the better. I think the second point is you did make a differentiation that you're aiming to be a doctor's tool rather than replacing doctors, right? So that definitely differentiates you. The only question you may get from investors is, does that make it harder for you to get reimbursement, right? Is that essentially you're asking, whether it's insurance companies or hospitals to spend more rather than a cost savings. So, it's just something for you to think about.
Great, thank you.
And
I think
and I would expand on that. It's also a discussion we had already with Javier, that we really need to reach out to the reimbursement world to really understand in which part of the reimbursement does he fit in, what is reimbursed, and to really understand the dynamics behind that. Because at the end, if there's nobody who can pay for it or nobody who pays for it, the technology can be as good as it is. So in medical devices, in diagnostics, it's very, very critical, Javier, to really think about this combination of driving your regulatory process and simultaneously driving your understanding for the reimbursement, because it always goes hand in hand. So it's very important.
Thank you very much, Marcus. When? Pablo, something else?
I think that basically covered the most relevant stuff, and I will just follow to the next one.
Perfect. Just thinking about the first part of the conversation of having great technology, solving something, and how to connect that with the private market. So just something that hearing you guys, we go back to that conversation. That's the interesting part of this. So now going back to the presentations. Next company, Smart Tissues. We have here Denise Suyur from Smart Tissues. Printing life, Smart Tissues builds tomorrow medicine with living tissues. Denise is joining us from Kyoto, where she and her team are preparing their international market validation in the US for the end of the year, and they recently won the Japan International Startup Competition. Denise, please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you for the introduction. Can you see my screen?
Perfectly well, and we can hear you too.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Denise. Today, I would like to explain you why and how we print life. Did you know that over 90% of the drugs do not get to patients because they fail during the clinical trials? You may be wondering why. Well, as a scientist, I can tell you that we still have a very inefficient approach to drug development. We're still testing drugs in animals and cells cultured in petri dishes. However, the current models do not represent the human physiology. So, what if we can find a solution in which life-saving medicines can reach faster to the patients We can develop personalized treatment and in the future, lab-made tissues and organs. That is exactly why we are working on 3D bioprinting, which allowed us to print layer by layer, three-dimensional human tissues that are useful for drug discovery, fundamental research, and regenerative medicine. As you can guess, one of the critical parts of this process is having the right bioink, which is the biomaterial to print the cells. However, the bioinks available in the market are difficult to manipulate. Our solution is the X-ink, the new standard for bioinks. We have developed a biomaterial with a unique combination of mechanical and biological properties. In addition, our bioink is the first antibacterial bioink in the market. In contrast to other bioinks, printing with the X-ink is easy. We can print at room temperature with tunable mechanical properties, high cell viability, and antibacterial properties. In addition, our bioink is printer agnostic. It means it's ready to use in any bioprinter, and it has great potential for clinical use. And although bringing this technology to the market may sound like something artificial, the market driver of this growing market is specifically organ and tissue transplantation. Our revenue model has two main streams, which is the constant supply of the bioink that we can achieve it in a B2B approach with alliance with bioprinter suppliers or in a B2C approach. We also have services around the bioprinting technology, and all this is possible because we have an outstanding team which is fully committed to this project and is ready to take this business to the next level. Because we are about to reach the market, we are looking for investment and collaborative partnership to achieve our next milestone, which is the product launch. Thank you, and let's print life together.
Thank you very much, Denise. Really interesting. I think when you were going to say something?
I think fast, I talk fast, so I'm always the first to jump in. Sorry about that. So Denise, I love what you're building. This is definitely the type of company that IndieBio invests in. So I would love to see a deck and hopefully even try to push you into our fall cohort, which actually just started. But feel free to email me. It's gwen.cheney, first name, last name at sosv.com. I would say that, you know, I really like what you said at the beginning, but I feel like that the second half of the deck sort of changed, right? So it felt like the first part of the deck, you were building organoids, which is really important for drug discovery, right? The whole FDA approval process and whatnot. And that is, that there's tremendous need for that right now from all the pharma companies. But then later on, it sounded like what you're building is more useful for, you know, skin transplant or for burn patients, right? And it's possible that your technology is useful for both, but then maybe explain why it's useful for both, and maybe, you know, there's a timeline of, you know, you're going to do the skin graft first and then move on to building organoids. But seeing some timeline or direct application would be super helpful.
I would like to add to that. I think that the potential of like developing a platform like that in Latin America and around the world, it's amazing. And I think that especially in terms of like printing organs or being able to help to speed up the trials, FDA trials around the world. I think that it definitely could become like a amazing platforms for new discoveries and for other biotech startups who are struggling to run trials and to speed up their FDA submissions. So I think that's definitely something that I would like to understand more and see how would that be possible and all the potential that you have in that area.
And I don't want to add anything to the evaluation, but just mention that example. You know, Denise has been participating last year in the Ganesha Lab program while in Kyoto, while in Japan. Time differences, 13 hours, 14 hours, 12 hours, and she has been there constantly. And it's really the example of what Gwen said, the resilience and passion about what scientists do make them great founders. they might at a point need someone else with other capabilities. But in the beginning, this passion and resilience is absolutely needed. Denise, I'm proud of you. Congratulations.
And Denise, definitely with that vote of confidence from Marcus, definitely email me. I want to chat.
I just want to say that I think this is the first time in a pitching contest where I see so much love from one of the investors toward to one of the pitchers. So congratulations, Denise. Okay, so we will move to our next company, Panex. Or I don't know if Panex or Panex. David, you will correct me if I'm wrong. David Bravo from Panex Therapeutics. Panex Therapeutics develops a non-addictive painkillers to save life, and they have been working with Ganesha Lab for 1 year. Panex has been selected to join IndieBio, as was mentioned before, with an initial funding of $275,000. David will be leaving towards New York in the next 2 weeks to participate in the program and establish the company there. So David or David, I'm not sure how you prefer it, but welcome and please present.
Thank you so much. I'm really proud of being here. Can you hear me and see my presentation?
Yeah, very well.
Okay, so here we go. Hi, I'm David Bravo, CEO of Panex Therapeutics, and we are developing the next generation therapeutics to save lives. Our first therapeutic target is chronic pain. This is a big unmet medical need with millions of Americans suffering it, billions in costs for health systems, and the opioids, the currently most effective treatment, are killing 1 American every 15 minutes. And the non-opioids are failing to relieve pain in almost 50% of the cases. So there is a high risk of under-treating patients and an urgent need to develop new, highly effective therapeutics alternatives. So for this, we're developing the PNX3, a first-in-class, highly selective Panexin-1 channel blocker and the first anti-addictive painkiller on market. Panexin-1 channels are involved in pain by releasing ATP, which generates chronic pain as well as opioid addiction. The PNX3, our first lead candidate, blocks Panexin-1 channels and inhibits ATP release. This is a new mechanism of action for the treatment of chronic pain and opioid addiction at the same time. Our preliminary data shows that PNX3 decreases 97% of the ATP release from brain cells and is also safe for them because 100% of the cells survived after 24 hours of exposure. Our in vivo data shows that PNX3 relieves musculoskeletal chronic pain with the same efficacy than the biggest competitor, but with 10 times less doses, which means less toxicity and less side effects. To improve the PNX3 profile, we perform computational optimization. So we designed 50 molecules, 50 versions of PNX3, and then we use big data analysis to check for novelty and computational prediction to get 32 molecules. And then we use computational model of Panexin-1 channel to select the selectivity of the compounds. And we found 10 selected molecules and this is where we are now. And thanks to the Ganesha Lab support and the investment from angels and myself, we have got here. And now we were selected to be accelerated by IndieBio, that invested in us to synthesize those molecules and test them in vitro and in vivo in order to have the lead compound soon, and then file an IND application and receive the FDA approval to test our compounds in humans. We also were recently incorporated in our company in the US. Now we're Panex Therapeutics Inc., and we have a provisional patent in progress there. Chronic pain market is big, underserved, and is growing with a CAGR of 18.3%, so there is plenty of space to grow there. And although the market is full of competitors, we have strong competitive advantages that will make us key players in the future. For that purpose, I have dedicated almost 18,000 hours of my life studying Panexin and pain, and I have an experienced team from pharmaceutical development and in pain research, as well as a great advisory board to support me in every step of this ambitious endeavor of developing the next generation therapeutics to save lives. Thank you.
I'll be really fast because David is already part of the fall batch at IndieBio, so he's already joined, he's already accepted. I'd say what I point out that IndieBio, the New York IndieBio, we actually raised $50 million for a fund dedicated to therapeutics. So if there are therapeutics companies out there, definitely email me. It's a focus area of ours. The managing director of IndieBio New York comes from a therapeutics background, so he was a founding scientist at Vertex that went public, and then he also started his own small molecules antiviral company that he sold. So it's definitely an area that we love. I think in terms of business, one thing that we're helping David with, just to give you an example of what we do at IndieBio, is don't just think about the FDA approval process. You absolutely have to do that, but in the interim, also think about who you can partner with, such as these opioid addiction treatment facilities that are so desperate for a solution. They might be willing to pay you for joint venture partnership, or they might have some way to get you to do a trial for you, right? So these are sort of the creative ways we try to move companies faster and on less money.
Thank you. Working on it.
Thank you, Gwen and David. From my perspective, I already said, you're with us for 1 year, and it's our first therapeutics company in the portfolio. And this year we are taking on the second one, but the specific point for us to preparing such a therapeutic startup is really creating awareness with the scientist and helping him to find his path, to be ready to really say, this is what I'm going to do, this is where I'm going to focus on, and also helping to find already the first partners. For example, he had the chance to talk to Johnson Pharmaceuticals, not that they're direct in the space, but definitely they have a lot of experience. And this next step, which you say finding partners to really go to the next step, will be absolutely critical. So, hopefully we'll see a lot of more of those type of companies coming over the next years into that process. Thank you, David.
Yeah, just one final remark. I think that like I said, I'm not fully expert on therapeutics, and I think that molecules are like a really, really difficult and hard industry. But I think that what Gwen just mentioned about that the risking strategy to try to partner with like this institution could be really helpful for investors. Basically people who don't have don't fully understand this market and don't. This will definitely give them a better understanding about market validation about this, because all of that I know is this is definitely like a huge market. We have seen from the news that there's like millions and billions of dollars being poured into this market, and a lot of lawsuits being addressed to giant pharmaceutical companies, and this will definitely keep growing, because pain is one of the most complicated things in the medical area. So if you find ways to de-risk and to try to get like some market traction and market validation, partnering with those type of institutions, I think that's a great strategy to gain more confidence for investors, and especially because the specialized investor in this area are pretty niche, and you need to gather money from other maybe sources and to gain their confidence and to show them that definitely that the product has validation, even when you still might not be able to get FDA approval. You will be on the way to develop that. So yeah, that would be like kind of like the advice.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to all the presenters. It was definitely very, very interesting. Actually, I think all of us would like to have more time to ask a lot of questions to these companies. And also it's interesting that they are raising money. So I'm sure that there might be a lot of traction here to discuss with these companies. Also, I want to thank Marcus, Gwen, Pablo for being here, for sharing with us, for giving their feedback. Really, really useful. We have talked a lot about Pablo Zamora. Everybody knows who he is. Pablo is sending his regards by WhatsApp. He's saying that when are you joining Ganesha Lab? So that's it. The invitation apparently is open. Pablo is already in IndieBio, so you're partnering already. So everybody, the good people are connected here, and this has been great. So thank you very much to all of you. We will take a few seconds, and now we will return with the presentation from Juan Carlos Muñoz, the chairman of Ganesha Lab, and so give us a few seconds and we will return with the investment opportunities presentation. So thank you again, Pablo, Marcus, and Gwen.
Thank you, Francisco.
Thank you.